The Albert baby experiment is one of the darkest chapters in the history of psychology. In the early 1920s, psychologist John B. Watson and his student Rosalie Rayner made a chilling decision to deliberately instill fear in an innocent baby. Their goal was to prove that fear was not an inherent emotion, but something that could be learned, and thus the Albert baby experiment became infamous in history. A baby, an experiment, and the first seeds of fear. Watson and Rayner searched for a baby to manipulate fear in, eventually selecting the 9-month-old innocent Albert. He was a fearless, pure child, untouched by fear and unaware of the darkness that awaited him. Albert loved interacting with a white rat, curious about furry objects around him. There was no fear in his world. He was simply an innocent child until Watson and Rayner entered the picture. Watson began introducing loud, terrifying sounds whenever Albert interacted with the rat. The sudden crashes of metal on metal shattered Albert's world, and the first seed of fear was planted in his innocent heart. Each time Albert saw the rat, his fear grew stronger. That first terrifying sound left a permanent mark in Albert's mind. The once harmless white rat now became a monster in his world. As the experiment progressed, Albert's fear expanded uncontrollably. He developed a fear not only of the rat, but of every furry object he encountered. A rabbit, a beard, even a soft blanket, everything became a source of terror. Albert's fears began to spread uncontrollably. What began with a white rat quickly extended to all furry creatures. The source of his fear was no longer clear. Everything was now feared. Albert was just a baby, yet now he was intimately acquainted with fear. That innocent child had now experienced something that would haunt him forever. The experiment ended, but Albert's psychological scars would remain. No one ever followed up on his emotional well-being. The dark ending of the experiment, Watson and Rayner abandoned Albert, leaving him in his newfound terror. The experiment was over, but the little baby was left to deal with a lifetime of fear. No one knew what became of Albert after the experiment ended. The Albert baby experiment became a scandal in the years that followed, heavily debated by psychologists and ethicists. The manipulation of a child's soul, all for the sake of science, was not only a scientific failure, but a human one. The psychological cost of Albert's trauma remains a dark subject of debate. The depth of Albert's fear and trauma likely stayed with him long after the experiment ended. No one knows what became of his life, but one thing is certain: a child's spirit should never be tested with fear, and humanity should never have allowed such an experiment.